Hello everyone, Jocelyn here, and today's video is going to be the first of a short 4-part series where I basically talk about myself, uh, but in such a way that things that I haven't really talked about in detail yet, for no particular reason other than it's just I've not got around to it yet and I would really like to do that. So today's video is going to be about my gender fluid status. Am I gender fluid? Well, it isn't exactly news that I am non-binary. I have talked about it a lot on this channel. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you will understand that. Got my NB flag behind me. That's the label that I use to describe myself. And the reason that I keep mentioning it is because it is real and it does make sense for me. But non-binary is a fairly sort of inclusive umbrella term, or at least it can be, as is the word genderqueer, which just basically means not cisgender, not the gender assigned at birth and not the quote-unquote opposite one. Maybe, maybe not, who knows. These are deliberately vague terms because there is room for interpretation. So gender is a pretty nebulous, vague concept as it is anyway. So these sort of vague terms tend to be quite useful, and it was really difficult for me to discover my true identity growing up, living in this binary world, you know. Okay, so let's go back a little bit and just sort of discuss my past history with my gender and everything, just to give you a little bit of context if you haven't already seen any of my other videos about it. So I resisted quite hard everything that was boyish and masculine and, you know, everything that's sort of prescribed for me by society based on my basic anatomy, and because I knew instinctively that I just wasn't a boy and it just felt wrong, and I would do whatever I could to be as feminine as possible, and that includes like growing my hair out, women's clothes, underwear, makeup, all that sort of thing. And I love being perceived by people as a woman, and that makes me happy because, you know, that's closer to the truth of what I am than the other binary option. That wasn't a fetish thing, that was just an exploration, an expression thing. But, you know, given that, I can still barely explain why. It's just feminine suits me. It just does. And I know that's not a very satisfying answer, but I don't have to justify my existence. I just have to live it. So I also do have some masculine male traits that refuse to stay buried and hidden forever, and that's also fine. Coming to terms with that and accepting that there are a few little pieces of my personality that fit that is also fine, and that's why non-binary is such a great label for me, because Lil from column A, Lil from column B, but there's also this like a lot of things that's just completely gender neutral. Like, I think a lot of people would say that there is such a thing as walking down the street in a gendered way, and there is such a thing as walking down the street in a genderless way, and, you know, it depends on how you move your hips, your feet, or if you don't think about it at all. So yes, when I went on hormones, I saw some benefits and I saw some drawbacks, and when I thought that I was going to lose certain aspects of my physiology, I actually did panic and have a big crisis, and that video is also available to see. And basically there are plenty of videos detailing my journey so far. Even now, as someone who is fairly adult and self-aware and, you know, comfortable, you know, weird things still happen sometimes. We come to the idea of non-binary, and when I first heard of it, I thought, that sounds great. I wish I was non-binary too. And the more I watched other people talking about their non-binary experiences and realizing that some of these experiences do in fact align with my and some of them didn't, but it was okay because it still helped me to understand what non-binary was. And I realized that living in between those two binary genders is in fact where I am the most comfortable, and that is just who I am. And since then, I've been a lot more relaxed about it. But to be clear, gender expression, as in clothes, hair, makeup, blah, 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 and gender identity are not necessarily the same thing. Now, people who have seen my videos have seen me in a lot of different situations and expressions, and the point I want to make is that when I am looking femme, I am non-binary. When I am looking masculine, I am still non-binary. When I am looking androgynous, I am non-binary. When I am looking like a tasteful mess, I'm still non-binary. And so we come to the big crux of the subject of this video, which is, am I actually gender fluid? And the answer to that is, well, maybe ish, kinda, I think. Maybe. I mean, the clothes may change, the image may change, but the personality inside fluctuates only very minimally. So I had a friend who experienced their gender in a very kind of fluid way and referred to it as being a gender pirate. Insert a harmy hearties joke here. What that means is having no fixed gender abode, sailing the seven seas of gender, stealing the little bits here and there from other people, of you know, influence from those people around them. And what that means is just being more feminine around female people, being more masculine around male people, and, you know, landing somewhere in the middle in a mixed space. What I'm sure you can understand is that I am still the same person underneath it all. And that's not to say that certain looks or images, like presentations, don't make me happy. Of course they do. I consider my gender expression to be not male, not female, nor really androgynous, although sometimes it's all three. I'm just gender playful. I love to play with these gendered expectations and, you know, in order to lovingly mock just how flimsy these social norms are. I mean, who needs social norms, right? Gender doesn't really affect a lot of anything. It's a wonder why I've been able to talk about it so much for so long. Especially because, like, over time, I've just become a lot less bothered by the whole thing. Like, definitely when I was younger, a child, teenage, you know, if people treated me like a boy, called me a boy, it would really hurt me. Now I don't care. Not like if somebody uses the wrong pronoun or whatever. It depends on the situation as to whether it bothers me or not. But if it's just some rando that I'm never going to see again, I don't care. Alright, so it's time to have a little bit of fun with this video. So I found some questions and I'm going to answer them as best I can. And I'm going to leave the link for the questions so that you can answer them yourselves if they apply to you. It's for non-binary and genderqueer people. I really want to know what other people think as well. It's not just about me. Okay, so question 1, what is your gender identity? The label that I use that I am most comfortable with is non-binary, but you could also say genderqueer and that would not be incorrect. 2, what are your preferred pronouns? They, them, quite simply. I'm, like I said, not too fussed about pronouns when it's somebody who I don't know, but when it's somebody I do know, I would prefer they respect me enough to do that. 4, what's your sexual orientation? I am androsexual, which means that I am attracted mainly to men and masculine people. But just to keep things simple, I do use the word gay as well, just because it's like a bit of an umbrella term, like the word queer. But yeah, I am almost exclusively attracted to men. What does your gender mean to you? It just means having the freedom to not give a shit about playing around with the expression of my gender and sometimes having it one way, sometimes having it another, sometimes having it a bit of both, and sometimes just wearing a hoodie and saying fuck off. And no, not dealing with any of that today. Has your gender ever changed? It seems that over time I'm getting more comfortable with masculine traits, but at the same time it's only because I'm now given the expression and the freedom to be as feminine as I need to be, which is something that I really had trouble with when I was a child because I wasn't allowed to. Do you feel you have a full grasp on understanding your gender yet? Probably not a full understanding, but a working understanding. With sort of time and self-awareness, things may change. I may get a bit of a better perspective. But for now, it's just, I'm non-binary. I know I am. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, whatever that is, however that is, and yeah, just if things need to change in the future, I am open to that, but at the same time, I don't see the need to do that now. Like, this is the best I have ever felt in regards to, like, secure in the knowledge that this is what I am. How do you come out as your gender? Well, for me, it was trickier with people that already knew I was trans, because a lot of people had already been using she, her pronouns for me for a long time, and I just got kind of tired of that, and bit by bit through the different social groups and everything, just said, actually, you know what? I kind of would like they, them pronouns, you know, if you could use that instead, that would be great. And I found that having a pin that says that is also a really useful tool. Do you have facial dysphoria? Well, this might sound odd coming from someone with a mustache literally drawn on, but yes, I do have dysphoria when it comes to the facial hair issue. I cannot wait for lockdown to end so that I can get back to having the fucking laser treatment again. Because it was working. It was working, and it has reduced the amount of hair so much, but it's still got a little bit left to go, and it's so frustrating that I can't do that at the moment. Everything else is fine. Everything else, you know, I like my nose, I like my cheekbones, you know, nothing wrong there. I could do with a couple more tattoos actually, because I've only got one, and that's, I want a bit more work. Nothing huge, but that's not dysphoria, that's just, I want tattoos. But when it comes to facial hair, yes, that's a bit of a trigger for me, and I hate it. And I tried living with it for a while just to sort of experiment and see, hey, is this a thing that still causes me bother? Yes, it is. Yes, it does. Oh, yes. Okay. Do you find it worse to have social dysphoria or bodily dysphoria? For me personally, social dysphoria is worse. My body is not ideal, I guess you could say. Like, I could lose a few pounds, that sort of thing. But, like, I don't have an issue with my genital area at all. It's great, it's fine. Tits could be bigger. I really do. I do want something to happen there. But obviously, what with the hormones, just, they didn't do that for me. I was aware that that might be a possible outcome, and unfortunately, yeah, that didn't happen for me. So that's still a bit of a disappointment, but I think if I had to have some sort of restrictions on how I look or whatever, beyond sort of obvious work stuff, like you must look smart for work, then yeah, like that would be a lot worse if I was just forced into one sort of social role or another, especially if that social role was the male social role, because I would fucking hate that. Do you consider yourself FTM or MTF? Why or why not? Well, I put MTF in the title of some of my transition videos because it gets more clicks, gets more views. But to be honest, no, I actually do consider myself non-binary. So, MT, NB. Does it bother you more to be misgendered as the sex you were designated or assigned at birth, or to be misgendered as the other binary gender? Well, I've already covered this. It bothers me a lot more to be misgendered as male than female, the assigned gender than the other one, but they just both started to grate on me a little bit. Both are not great, but like I said again, if it's somebody who I'm never going to see again, if it's some rando, I don't give a shit too much. Do you have preferred pronouns in other languages than English? If so, what are they? No, because the only other languages that I know well enough are French, Spanish, German and Russian. And none of them have really good options. French and Spanish just don't do non-binary pronouns. German and Russian do have neuter pronouns, but it's not great because it's like calling somebody it, and I feel like doing that would be dehumanizing and not very great. Are your genders fluid or static? Well, a little bit fluid, but generally just like somewhere in the middle of here and there and over there, like just somewhere in the middle. What would you want on a government ID card? This is a good question because although I don't want an ID card necessarily, I have been looking into getting a passport, and in this country there is no legal recognition for non-binary identities on passports or driving licenses. The reform to the Gender Recognition Act that a lot of people wanted and the government basically ignored, part of that was in fact IDing as NB on like official documents like passports and driving licenses. So I would want a little letter X or NB or something that's not M or F, definitely. At the moment I cannot get a passport without lying somewhat on an official document. Like, because I know I'm not M or F, how can I don't understand how I can get a passport without lying on it because my gender is not recognized in an official capacity. What symbols for your gender or being outside the binary do you like best? Okay, well I have this. This is my transgender tattoo. That is a symbol that I really connect with because a little bit of male, a little bit of female, a little bit of crossover. Love it. There is also a non-binary symbol that is also good. But this one is my favorite. Just because trans can mean pretty much any sort of any identity under the not cis gender category. Are there any other symbols? The spork, that's a pretty non-binary symbol, because it's a little bit of both. Yeah. I wouldn't say I love it, but yeah. Do you like the transgender flag? Why or why not? Yes, I do like the transgender flag. I appreciate it a lot. I like that, you know, that when I researched what it meant, you know, the fact that it's symmetrical and that means always finding your right self. That's really cool. The pastel colours are not quite so much my thing though. The non-binary flag is a lot better in terms of colour scheme because it's got purple and black, which are my favourite colours. Are you proud of being your gender? Absolutely. I have always been not necessarily proud of being who I am, but I have always been stubbornly like adhering to my truth. If you could have been called any pronoun as a child, which pronoun would you want? Definitely they. Definitely they, them. Because I feel like it would have been so much easier for me if I hadn't had so much sort of gendered expectations, and just if we could just treat everyone completely neutrally and equally, that would be great. And I think using gender neutral pronouns is at least one small way that we could do that as a society. And then, you know, it sort of becomes a bit more normalised to use they, them. And if somebody really does need a gendered pronoun later on down the line, it's, you know, not such a big deal. So yeah, if official forms had lines instead of boxes for gender, what would you write? I would just write non-binary, because it's an umbrella term enough to not be too specific, but at the same time it tells you not man, not woman, something else, you know. But I tend to hate those things, those questions in forms anyway, because again, why does it matter? Are you stealth off the internet or out to a few people? I'm out to fucking everyone, really. Like, everybody knows. It's fine. Again, it's kind of like wearing armor, because anybody who is worth my time is not going to be too fussed about it anyway. And anyone who is really bothered about it is not going to be a great person. Like, just in general. So, yeah, and also I don't need to be stealth for work or college or anything like that. I did actually start college being stealth, just because I wanted to, like, decide for myself who I come out to, and then I got outed anyway, which was rather shit. But, you know, I wanted that sort of level of control. But, you know, when being asked a direct question, I'm not gonna lie. What's your favourite 101 for people outside the binary, or even cis people? Be respectful, especially of people's pronouns and names and stuff like that. Don't expect me to teach you everything about everything when it comes to gender and trans stuff. Like, we can have a conversation, great, but I'm not an expert. I only know what I know through my lived experiences and through watching other people online and reading certain things online. You know, I make it my business to know stuff, but at the same time, I am not a teacher on this. And even if I was, I would have office hours. Like, don't come to me outside of that. What are your dreams regarding your gender? I don't know what it means by dreams, whether it means hopes or whether it means actual dreams. Because my dream would be, like, in terms of my hope, my expressed desire would be bigger tits. But that's not my dreams as such. Like, when I dream, you know, when I'm actually asleep, I do sometimes have dreams where people call me by my dead name. Still. It's been like 12 years since I changed my name, and still that happens. And that's quite upsetting, actually. Because it's like there's this horrible shadow that I just can't fully get rid of. Anyway, that's gone on for far too long. I have a lot of editing to do now, so I'm going to say goodbye to you now. And of course, as usual, non-binary is valid. God damn it. Bye. And this is, I'm gonna link, you know, where, oh shit. Physically, I have guy bits. It's like the worst way to fucking put that. What's your... you know, sexy experiences in dreams, which relate to gender because it's basically playing with someone else's naughty bits. I'll be anything you want me to be. Oh, we do love that. We stan a good ombre. Just dark to light. Okay. God. I realised that, oh, fuck's sake. Hiya. No, I'm a little bit busy at the moment. I am in the middle of recording a video. Okay. Okay, I'll text you in a bit. Ah, for fuck's sake. Yes, yes, I love the transgender flag. I appreciate it. Fucking. Yes, I do like the gender flag. The gender flag. For fuck's sake. Am I actually genderqueer? No. Okay. I think that's everything. I'm fucking cold.